Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so this Bulls game, uh, Bulls Milwaukee, it left me with a lot of things to talk about. A lot of different things. A few concerns. Um, watching AC run around the way that he did had me feeling nostalgic. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Obviously, we have to talk about Chris Middleton because Chris Middleton went down with an injury, a knee injury of some sort. Now, I don't know how bad it is. They're saying it's a sore right knee, I believe it is. Um, I'm not sure what to think of it. I'm not saying that it's serious as of yet. Looking at it, he went down in some pain, but it wasn't like he had to be carried off on a cart or anything like that. He just kind of stepped wrong, and that's that. But I think it's not him missing any time is a huge problem. Okay, let's just put it like that because the Milwaukee Bucks are not a deep team. We talked about this in the very last video I made. I said that teams that build with three max players, gonna have issues with depth. It's what we talked about all season, and it's what I've been preparing everybody for in regards to teams that are constructed this way. Milwaukee is a great team when they have all of their pieces. But if they lose one of their big three and have to rely upon their bench, or even worse, lose Bobby Portis as well, for which they have, from what I understand, um, now you're looking at a situation where they're relying upon people that they should not be relying upon, people that they're not supposed to even probably have a rotation this time of the year, are going to be players in rotation. Um, and that does not bode well in a series against a team like Chicago, where they have a lot of different types of weapons, both defensive weapons, offensive weapons, shooting weapons, interior centers, and all different types of stuff that they can throw at you. Plenty of forwards, plenty of guards. They have been able to withstand injury all year long because of their immense depth. And now you're starting to see Alex Caruso get back into his conditioning, his shape, and he looks like 2020 AC. You know, we saw all that you get from Alex Caruso tonight in just the fourth quarter. Like, I didn't see the entire game, but in just the small sample size of basketball that I saw the last 8 minutes of the game, I saw the best and worst of Alex Caruso. Um, and when I say worst, his corner three, not making that corner three all the time, even though he hit it a couple times. I'm sure he had a few because I did see him hit it, but it used to drive me crazy as a Laker fan. Like, if he would be uh, the perfect player if he could just raise his 3-point shooting percentage. But he hit some strong ones for us in the finals that ultimately sealed the championship for us. So when we needed him to make them, he came through. But the way he clanked those corner threes tonight for the Bulls in that fourth quarter is the same thing we saw him do for many years. It's just not very reliable. Um, but all in all, he does everything else well. Yeah, like everything. And you saw all of it tonight. One of my favorite sequences or scenarios in basketball. One of my favorite things to be on the right side of is when you miss a clutch 3-point shot or a clutch basket in the closing seconds and somebody gets an offensive rebound to give you that clock back that basically either seals the game or forces the team to foul you. That is one of my favorite things to see, to be on the right side of, and of course my most hated things to be on the wrong side of. But if you were a Bulls fan, you saw Alex Caruso pull down what I would consider a game-winning offensive rebound off a brick shot. That kind of thing. I don't know if it was game-winning, but it pretty much sealed the final possession. I think there was another possession, offensive possession after that for the Bulls, but that shut down the Bucks. Like, he pulled down that situation, got that offensive rebound so that he can get his team that second opportunity is what I'm trying to describe. So, um, you just love that about Alex Caruso, and then of course you got to mention the fact that he drew the foul. You know, the game-winning foul drawn in that situation where You just saw his defensive talent on display in his playoff and championship experience, and I did make it a point to point out that he has a championship. The Bucks obviously are the champs on this floor, and judging by just a quick scan in my mind of the Bulls roster, they don't have anybody else that got a championship but AC. But that experience is going to very much help the Bulls because he can help them in situations such as what he did tonight. Since he has such a hands-on approach to both sides of the ball, he can have game-winning stops or game-winning shots or make a game-winning assist or what have you. He's more than capable of winning a game, in multiple ways. And it's just I'm disappointed in myself for not being more disappointed in watching him walk out the door. And I'm not going up front. I think it's mainly because I have so many memories of him missing that corner shot. I kid you not. It really did affect how I viewed AC as a whole, because I look at him as a player who you have shooting issues if he's on your roster and you don't have other shooters. You know what I mean? Like, you need shooting around him because he's not going to be a reliable three-point shooter, but he's going to have the ball so much. He's going to do so much for you defensively, so you're going to want him on the floor all the time. So in my mind, in some ways, that just leaned on a negative side of things. But to be honest with you, he makes every team he's on better. He's gonna continue to develop to be better and better and better. His development has been great. He was fantastic in the G League, and he's gonna continue to help teams win. You know what I mean? And we're not a better franchise for having him gone, straight up. And that's more obvious now than it was during the free agency. So yeah, man, it is what it is. We're definitely happy to see him succeed, though. Him and DeMar DeRozan, those guys deserve to get through this situation happy about it. If nothing else, I think they've shown that they can compete, and that takes me to my next point. They can compete. I think this situation just got a bit more serious for the Milwaukee Bucks, because if Middleton's going to miss any time, and if Portis is going to miss any time, you're going to see more of what you saw tonight. The Bucks are not the same basketball team without those two people. I'm sorry. They're not the same team. This is not a situation like the Suns where they can afford to lose players, or like the Bulls where they can afford to lose players and still be all right. They can't. They just can't. One of the biggest problems that the Milwaukee Bucks have had, we've talked about this a million times, is the fact that for all of the great things that Giannis does for your team, you kind of want to run things through Middleton, because Middleton's just the more pure scorer, the more pure offensive talent. And Giannis plays well when you do so, when you play things through Middleton. You remove Middleton, issues, because now you're going to be relying upon Giannis to make plays for himself and others without the presence of that mainstay shooter that's a superstar caliber offensive talent and defensive talent, for that matter, with his long arms and his ability to do all the things that he does for his team. So, when you lose Middleton with this roster, it's different than them losing Middleton, say, last year or the year before, because they don't have the depth. I'm telling you, they cannot sustain this. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to lose every game they're in, because obviously Giannis is an unstoppable force. But what you do is you put Giannis in a position to look a lot more vulnerable. His weaknesses are going to be exposed. His shooting issues and things of that nature are going to be exposed. And another thing that also gets exposed is Drew Holiday's limitations, which we saw some in the fourth quarter, missing a big three down the stretch. As fantastic of a player as Drew Holiday is, that's always been my thing with him as well. It's just that he's going to fill it up. He can, on a great night, this dude can give you 33 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds, 3 steals. Like, this dude is amazing. But there have been times where he's missed a big shot, or kind of came up in a little short in situations where you needed him to come up big. He's already won the championship, so it ain't much to prove at all. But what I'm saying is, it's there are tiers to this point guard kind of thing, and when you look at Drew Holiday for all of his strengths, you ask yourself, why isn't he as considered a Chris Paul? Why isn't he considered in the upper echelon of a Trae Young? Why doesn't he have that superstar to him? And I think it comes down to this kind of thing, where you just did a big shot to the big moment. The shot just didn't fall. I think Trae hits that shot. I think CP3 hits that shot. You know what I mean? And in a situation like this, you're going to need Drew Holiday, especially without Middleton, especially when, you know, you're going to be relying upon Giannis. You want Drew Holiday to kind of tap into his superstar potential and his superstar talent and kind of carry the load that Middleton's not going to be able to. And I don't believe that he's going to. And I think that's the difference. If it were Trae Young, I'd say, okay, I think he's probably gonna kick it up. He's gonna go for 40. If it's Chris Paul, all right, Chris Paul gonna go nuts, and we're gonna see him close this thing out. I don't know that Drew's gonna do that. I think Drew complements the superstars, and as they go, he goes, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean he's not great. It just means he's not a leading guy, and he can't fill in for the leading guy, in my opinion, in a limited situation where he doesn't have adequate teammates around him, for which the Milwaukee Bucks, they're not gonna have. I'm telling you. And I think it's gonna be real interesting if they drop this next game in Chicago, because pundits are gonna be like, "What's wrong with Milwaukee? Oh, they're not who they thought they." No, they're exactly who we thought they were. When they have all their pieces, they're as they're supposed to be. You remove one of those pieces, they're not built to sustain that. And I think that's gonna hurt a lot of teams. I think you're seeing the same thing with the Brooklyn Nets. You know, that same piece for them is Ben Simmons, and they don't have him, and they're losing. I think that's a lot. I'm not going to say because of it, because, you know, you got to give the credit to the Celtics and how they're scheming, but they're able to be effective in their schemes because of the absence of that piece. I think it would be much harder to guard the Brooklyn Nets if they were at full strength. So, you know, same goes here. Now you're going to be able to zero in on Giannis. Now you're going to be able to build a wall against Giannis. He's going to pass some people that may not hit the shot. He's going to pass some people who are going to have some limitations. And that wasn't the case when Middleton's on the floor. That's not the case when you have Middleton and Holiday and Portis backing them up. That's what makes the team strong. So, yeah. Meanwhile, DeMar DeRozan's playing great. You know, not surprising to me. I think, you know, he's been an MVP candidate all year. It's a shame that he's just been outshined by guys who've just been, you know, really, really putting up huge numbers and being big and literally. But, you know, in most people's minds, he definitely deserves MVP consideration. And you saw right tonight. He's just coming up clutch, doing the things that he does. He's been doing all year, being efficient, leading his team in the absence of different ball handlers that they have. Making it seem as if they don't even really miss those guys because he's going to do what he does, knocking shots down from the mid-range and just making what's difficult look very easy. So, you know, you got glimpses of what he's always been, which is a reliable mid-range shooter and clutch player. And it's just awesome to see him continue to do what it is that he does in a winning situation. So hopefully he can continue to have success out there. Obviously, this shifts back to Chicago. I know, you know, Bulls Nation's going to be going crazy. I have no doubt they can't wait for the series to go their way because, of course, we have to always acknowledge that Grayson Allen was who, in fact, hurt Alex Caruso. And we could argue that the Bulls fell out of first place because they lost both Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball. You know, it is what it is. So I'm expecting Bulls Nation to be very, very loud and ready to go. And I expect the Bulls to respond to a potentially shorthanded Bucks team. You know, and then we'll see what happens with Middleton. If Middleton can't return to this series, you guys, I'm telling you, this is going to get ugly. It's going to get real ugly. Yeah, you know, and when I say ugly, it's going to be one of two things. Either it's going to be Giannis going berserk, which is going to have to be what he does. And when that happens, I don't know how their offense is going to sustain. Because, yeah, you're going to have him scoring, but other guys are not going to be getting their rhythm. So removing Middleton, it throws a monkey wrench in their situation more so than I think people realize. But I can see it in my head, and it's ugly, especially against a Bulls team that keeps coming at you with forwards. Now you're going to see the strength of those forwards. Now you're going to see more Patrick Williams. Now you're going to see more Ayo Dosunmu. You're going to see more out of DeMar DeRozan, because that Middleton length isn't going to be down there to disrupt them, which is underrated in assisting Giannis defensively. So, yeah, and that Portis piece is missing too. You could definitely see where they had issues scoring tonight without Bobby Portis coming in there with his 20, 25 points off the bench, especially in a home situation where he ignites that crowd like nobody else. They missed him tonight. So I'd imagine if they could get him going, especially since Middleton's going to be down, and maybe they can get him to play, that's going to be important. Wesley Matthews, I look at in that series, I say, man, he didn't look like he had a whole lot left a couple years back playing with my Lakers. I did not have the greatest tenure watching him play. Wasn't the greatest fit. We didn't have the greatest squad, etc. This year he seems to be pretty good with the Bucks, though. Obviously, he was with the Bucks before he got here, so he knows their system well and fits in it. But his defense for this team has been much better, and they're going to need him to step up big time, try to continue that spacing that Middleton provides. And we know Wesley could shoot. We remember who he is. Obviously, injuries kind of set him back a little bit, but all in all, even later in his career, he could still hit a three-point shot for his team. So he's going to be needed on the road. He's going to have to play well. Brook Lopez is going to have to continue to dominate. He did great tonight. And they're going to need stuff out of guys that don't really play. You're going to see Budenholzer have to dig in his bench for somebody. One of those guys is going to get some playing time. And either they're going to excel or they're going to be food for one of those guys in red. So this is what it's about. We're going to find out who can play on that bench and who can't. I would imagine they're going to be relying upon Pat Connaughton more. That's somebody you trust. I like that player a lot. Did some big things in the finals. Was key in them clinching that championship in that closeout game. So relying upon him wouldn't be too bad. And Grayson Allen. We know Grayson Allen's good for a good 20 points on a good night. Definitely going to play some hard defense. Probably going to kill somebody. But, that's good for you if you're a Buck fan. I think at the end of the day, those are the players you need to play well. Those are the guys that need to step up to make their bench as a whole better than what it is I've been describing. Because if they don't, Bulls going to start picking up wins in this series. Yeah, this ain't the last win the Bulls are going to get in this series. Obviously Middleton's going to get his treatment, and it's going to be very important he does that. And hopefully they can get him back on the court sooner than later. But if he's out for any reason, the Bucks are done. If they ain't done in this series, they done in the next series. But I'm telling you, they're not going to win the championship without every single one of those big three, particularly intact and fully healthy. They cannot sustain injury. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. That's what I got to say. I know there was something else about that game that I wanted to mention, but I think I touched on the main points. AC obviously is just, he's the guy. He's the guy tonight. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan is going to get a lot of support for what he did, scoring the ball and all that. They had a lot of help from a lot of players. But for me, AC did all the little things that helped the Bulls get a victory on the road. And I think stealing this game, knowing that those players are hurt, I would be very surprised if the Bulls didn't come out with an extra bit of energy for Game 3. So be ready for that, you guys, man. These playoffs been great. I thank you guys for following me. Go check out my Playoff Thoughts series, where I just run down a bunch of stuff that comes to mind. And, that's what I got, man. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.